Hey guys, Renkai-san here. When something gets popular enough, it gets its own following. And within these followings are three different types of followings. There's the small following that every popular thing starts out with, called an obscure following. Then there's a decent following, that being called the semi-obscure following. And then there's the big following, which is what's often called a cult following. But what if something that has a cult following is actually a cult that everyone's following? This is the type of fanbase the spawn symbol from Roblox got. So you're probably wondering, how did this symbol get such a huge following? And why did it gain a cult around it? Let's talk about it. So this is the spawn symbol from Roblox. You probably recognize it because it's the exact symbol you see when you spawn into a map. This symbol represents the start of the map. And as you can clearly see, it's an 8-pointed star. But what you may fail to realize is that this star is Roblox's version of a pentagram. Now see, most followings like this start with a star. And worship of the star is satanic worship, believing that this entity is worth praying to more than a god. With this star comes its own rituals of this type of worship. These practices include self-sacrifice, the drawing of your own blood, and lighting a fire around a circle. These practices are very unsafe and, more often than not, encourage suicide and the taking of others' lives. Within this cult that spawned from the Roblox game Forsaken, many followers who believe in spawnism believe in a second life after death, meaning that if they take their life right now, they'll just come back like nothing happened. So this ideology around the self-harm is intentional because they believe they'll be reincarnated after what happens takes place. The cult also encourages eating disorders which can cause anorexia, which can even lead to famine. That then leads to death, which means that followers of this cult also like to starve themselves to death, which is unnaturally unhealthy as our body depends on food to survive. And if we draw ourselves further from a food source, we don't have that protein source and our body would be in a much worse and skinnier shape. I would not encourage this in the slightest, as it is just wrong. I know this is far from the first time something on the internet made people carve something into their skin. I mean, there was the blue whale challenge back then, which had steps you would follow leading up to the last step, which required you to unalive yourself. It's bad that something that extreme is coming back around and claiming more lives. I pray that the children who are participating in this turn their lives around to God and get back on a better track. It's never too late to restore your faith. Now as for the obsession surrounding the spawn symbol, people envision themselves doing many different things with the symbol. Peeing on it, licking it, hugging it, sleeping with it, even kissing it. A little too much there, isn't it? Being that much in love with that demonic of a symbol is pretty much the equivalent to having an obsession with gore. You know, it's pretty much like licking your lips every time someone gets cut open in a horror movie. But you know, these things are real. And many things have converted others into satanic worshippers. Even the rap culture in recent years has praised the devil and promoted unholy acts such as killing others and having secret worship sessions in their studios. The biggest advocate for Satan in the last few years is Carti. His song, King Vamp, was in praise of the devilish figure, and if that didn't give it away, him making almost non-human screams at his concerts may have also convinced you that he was possessed. And Yate, surprisingly, was another advocate for the devil. In a song of his called Lying for Fun, he recalls selling his soul to Satan for a contract. And many times on occasion he would think of himself as more powerful than a god. On Big Tonka, he says to get high as Allah. This false god complex makes you put yourself before a god, and it's the same complex Kanye had. Thinking you're better and more powerful than the Almighty God is a practice most satanic worshippers use to try and clean their sins from their public image. Now if you don't necessarily believe in God, that's okay. It's good to be atheist. That is what you believe in after all. But it isn't okay to risk the lives of others for a cult you majorly believe in. Just because you don't practice the teachings of Christ doesn't mean you have to subject others to your satanic practices. Those people would probably be better off with their lives unharmed. Just saying. Now tying these whole religious themes back into the types of followings we talked about earlier in the video, anyone can create their own religion and, more importantly to what I want to express here, anyone can create their own following. As an example of this, let's take the Family Guy episode The Father, the Son and the Holy Fawns. In this episode, Peter's father comes over to visit. However, he is very Catholic and insists on going to church every single Sunday. Because him taking them to church is putting more attention on him and less attention on Peter because he feels like he's being left out, he uses the church to create his own following around the character Fonzie from Happy Days. His father thinks this is a stupid idea and that it's mocking the religion he grew to learn. But right then and there, he knew that he created his own religion. And anyone can do that. Even the unironic religion the internet created around Shrek is an example of this. So if you think anything can gain a following in its own right, it most likely can. And the one thing I want you all to take away from this video is regardless of whether or not it's a symbol, a cult, or following, can be made out of literally anything. Now I'll turn it over to you guys. What are your thoughts on the spawn symbol gaining such a massive following? And what do you think of the people who follow it? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, see you in the next video. Bye. Oh yeah, and free schlep too.